Okay, welcome back to the Modern Revolution. My name is Pete Deely. I'm glad you decided to come back and listen again. The divine has been good to me and remains to keeps me in its good favor and brings me interesting people to talk to. And I'm sure that you will find them interesting as well. As you know, we don't go through an explanation of why you should listen to them, try to establish their authority ahead of time. Instead, we just want you to listen. And if you are intrigued and you want to learn more, we will tell you how to find them. And so today I have the good fortune of talking with Mr. Jason Medlock. Jason, thank you for making time for us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it being here, Peter.
So what we like to start with is a question of how you're using your energy out there in the world. And so we like to ask, what problem are you trying to solve out there in the world?
Interesting question, and thank you for that. The problem that I've found that I can solve, I've solved
Hmm.
my own problem, is rewiring the subconscious mind with various techniques like hypnosis, self
Okay.
hypnosis, mindfulness, and using meditation to rewire the subconscious, meaning to remove limited thinking,
Okay.
remove these old thought processes
Hmm.
that slow you down, that hold you back from being the best person you can be or reaching peak performance,
Okay.
and introducing new neural pathways, new ways of thinking. And the problem that I've solved, and it started with me, and it
Yes.
has turned to a number of people who have sought out my services, and it's
Right.
helping them remove themselves from this dark place,
Okay.
remove themselves from this lonely spot in their life where they can't seem to move forward. And I think, and not only do I think, I know that quantum hypnosis in combination with mindfulness and meditation, visualization techniques,
Hmm.
has worked. And I'm excited to talk about that and a number of things tonight on
Well,
your show.
well, that's that. There's a decade worth of conversations because
It
this is
is.
these are the questions that we've been asking ourselves as a species from the beginning. And I want to react in two different ways because when I listen to you talk, I would imagine, and I think about myself, there are places of pain and difficulty that some people find them in where they'd like to rewire to relieve themselves of being uncomfortable, from being in pain, from being trapped in trauma of the past. And then I listen with an ear towards, use the word peak performance. There's another group of people who may be saying, I'm doing the best I can, but I think that there's more out there that I could be, more in here, maybe I could be, more that I could accomplish. And I'm looking to refine who I am into the best self that I could be. And maybe those two ideas go hand in hand because all of us have things that we've troubled by and all of us have aspirations. Um, could you talk about the notion of rewiring from that point of view? Like someone comes to talk to you, do they generally come because they're in so much pain they need a way out of it, or do they come to you because they want to be the best at something?
Well, let's talk about the people that come to me that are stuck with
Okay.
abuse
Yeah.
with the spouse,
Okay.
that may have a level of depression, and they have 3 or 4 good days, and then they have 2 days where they're in the room,
Yeah.
locked in the room, crying
Mm-hmm.
profusely.
Right.
Let's talk about those people. And when those people come to me, typically, I'm in the frame of mind that have to diagnose and pretty much do an intake of information on what exactly is the root issue. And once we get to that,
Right.
I typically use quantum healing hypnosis, and that's a different than just regular clinical hypnosis.
Okay.
I'll use quantum healing hypnosis because I can move them to a deeper level of the theta brainwave state, into the sambulistic state, which is a state that the late great Dolores Cannon worked in. I'm from the Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique School of Dolores Cannon.
Okay.
And when we move you to that state of mind, it is a beautiful, peaceful, relaxed state that helps you explore another aspect of yourself. In other words, Peter, I'm using past life regression techniques to move you to different past lives to figure out where did this particular trauma start. And
Okay.
once I'm in there and I'm working with different aspects of yourself
Right.
in whatever past life we come up in. Oh, there you are as a former, and your father is abusive to you. Through the conversations I'm having with you, wow, you are in this somnambulistic state. Our conversations back and forth. You're telling me, I'm asking, what are you doing today? I'm out here working in the farm. Who's around you? And I get the person to describe the scene.
Okay.
And then there's my dad over there. Oh, that's your father. How does he look? So I get all these details and I better hurry up before he hits me. Oh, okay.
Well, I think, Mr. Medlock, you might have gone from 0 to 60 on me real quick. So
Hmm.
let's take a step back to like, okay, somebody comes to you in pain, and they're trapped in a framework of behavior and thoughts and so on and so forth, and however you might describe the pain. Now, from there, talked about hypnosis, which I presume is like we're operating in the non-conscious at this point, right? Like regardless of the difference between quantum and you have a strategy in which to communicate with the person with parts of themselves they may not know how to communicate with you. I would assume you're sort of uncovering things for them. So could maybe you take us a little more slowly on the journey from like someone comes in, they want to change, they're in pain, and you start this process that it sounds like leads them into something that may not be very familiar to other people. This idea that there are lives that preceded the life this person's in now. I mean, I don't know if I followed you precisely, but that's kind of what I heard.
No,
So,
listen, let's just keep it simple.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
teach them to move them to use a quantum hypnosis, which has them to just experience another side of themselves where we
okay,
can dig deeper and find out more information that could lead to why they are experiencing whatever they're experiencing in regards to this mental distress,
right,
depression,
okay,
abuse, just being in a situation where you're constantly drinking. So
yeah,
quantum hypnosis just simply moves you to a deeper, relaxed state, and we
okay,
can get some of the questions answered to help versus using clinical hypnosis. Clinical hypnosis is a lighter version
okay,
of quantum hypnosis, and that's what all the practitioners, I mean, the clinical hypnoticians, hypnotherapists work in is theta, a mid-level theta brainwave state,
okay,
and to help you stop smoking, to
okay,
help you score well on your test.
okay.
So I like to use that when I have the deep-seated issues, a different type of hypnosis.
So theta brain waves, not everybody's familiar with the different types of brain waves. Could you kind of locate them within maybe ordinary conscious brain waves, sleeping brain waves?
Yeah,
Like what's
the theta brainwave state is the state of um, concentration.
okay.
Watching the television commercial, you're very focused on that commercial. Oh, I want that. I want those French
Okay.
fries.
Yeah, yeah.
Athletes, when they're training,
Right.
they're in the theta brainwave state. They're very, very focused on what they're doing.
Hmm.
Also, there's a part of theta that's a relaxed state where you're just laying back and you're having a conversation with your spouse, but you're paying attention. So
Right.
it's the state of concentration, the state of focus, varying levels of focus. And that's
Okay.
the love, that's the state. And you can imagine that would be the state where if we were introducing things to you that you should change.
Right.
But you're in this state with your eyes closed versus actually training for soccer practice
Yeah, yeah.
or sitting down having a serious conversation with your spouse.
So in that, I mean, this notion of relaxation I find interesting because in um, when you're tense, you're holding on, right? Like you're bracing for something and all that. But when you're relaxed, that open quality. But sometimes I think people think that that relaxed quality doesn't carry with it um, the ability to be effective and to go fast. Like for example, I'm a jujitsu athlete, and jujitsu is known as the gentle art, and the notion of surrender in jiu-jitsu is common, and so the idea that you're moving with the balance of your opponent or your training partner. However, you still have boundaries, right? Like just because you're relaxed and flowing, you're kind of um, trying to move in a particular direction. So I'm curious about as you're looking for someone to go and experience something that might be painful, does the quality of relaxation and focus, those combined things, allow them to approach what might be painful in an easier manner where they're less afraid of it? Because I got to imagine sometimes when you bring up notions of abuse or whatever might be, hurting them, that could be scary. So I'm just curious how those things work together.
Well, talk therapy,
Hmm.
counseling, psychology, that's when the pain comes up. When you're
Okay.
sitting there with someone, a talk therapist or counselor saying, well, tell us what happened.
Right.
How did you feel when you hit her? Talk therapy.
Okay.
Hypnosis is not talk therapy. Hypnosis is relaxation.
Okay.
Hypnosis is we work at the subconscious level, at almost, but not quite, Peter, the sleep level. But you're not sleep, you're just relaxed.
Right.
And so my job is to take you through a visualization journey.
Hmm.
Imagine yourself at the favorite barbershop, and your buddies are in there talking, and you're just right there relaxing and just having a conversation. But now we're going to move from there and we're going to walk in your favorite park. So we're just taking them through a serenity, a serene place, and we continue down that road.
Right.
I've already done the intake session. I've already
Okay.
understood why they came to see me. And
Okay.
they're telling me everything that's going on and how they cannot deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
So I've already gotten that information and
Right.
I'm listening to them. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And I'm just listening because as a hypnotherapist, we don't talk, we don't question, we just listen.
Okay.
And the more we listen, the more relaxed and the more trust we
Yeah.
gain
Right.
from the client. And they want to have someone to talk to. They want people that will listen to their problems. It is exactly what we do. And once they're finished, then we'll pick a pen up. And see,
Okay.
holding a paper and pen while they're talking is intimidating because they look at you as someone that's analyzing them. It's not
Yeah.
really listening to them, Peter.
Right. Yeah.
So at the end of this conversation, we picked the pen up and said, well, what was the name of your wife again? Write that
Right.
down. What was your mom's name that you talked about? Whoever they talked about, what were their names?
Right. Right.
Okay, got it. And once that happens, say, Peter, let's just relax. Let's just lay back and let me I'm going to say some things that are going to relax you. And Peter, I'm going to ask you to relax. I'm going to have you visualize some things, okay? And
Hmm.
you're going to visualize these things. And then we're going to talk about how we can remove some of the things that are giving you the most pain.
Yeah.
Does that sound good, Peter? Sounds good to me, Jason. And then we have the session.
So I have to ask this question because as I'm listening to you, you have such a refined voice. Like in as you develop these skills, I imagine there is the discipline of learning the content. But I think about like a singing bowl that might be used in Buddhist meditation, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't care who you are when you listen to those sounds, what culture you come from, they have a soothing quality that I think transcends culture. Like it just they're just a tool that do something to you whether you want it to or not in a sense. I think it'd be hard to get angry in the presence of someone who really knows how to make those bowls, make those resonant sounds. I'm curious as you learn to do these things, I hear your voice almost as an instrument. Like
Yes.
you're so intentional that is the tone and non-content quality equally important to the content, or am I just so intrigued with the way you sound that it's just me? I'm wondering if those things come into play directly.
Oh, Peter, you hit it right on the nose. I mean, you have to have tone and you have to have speed. So certain words I'm gonna say, I want you to go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right.
So the way I would say that is, now, Peter, I'd like you to go deeper.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then the second deeper has to be deeper than that one. Deeper
Yeah. How
and
interesting.
deeper.
Yeah.
So each time I drop an octave lower, lower, lower.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that that moves you to a different state of relaxation. Some people, Peter, their bodies start to move a little bit, and
Sure.
they and then you say, Imagine the couch just wrapping around your body.
Right.
And this couch that you're sitting on, that you're laying on, it can take you and it can fly you to anywhere you'd like to go. And
Yeah.
imagine that this couch has magical powers.
Right.
You're now flying slowly. So I'm stretching some of the words
Yeah.
out, but
Yeah.
then there
Right.
some of the times I need to say things abruptly.
Sure.
Now the couch has stopped,
Right. Right. Right.
meaning
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I want to stop you right there.
Sure.
We're now going to explore the situation that you found yourself in. So I move you around and then I stop
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the power of of a carefully placed sound has
Yes.
been true in terms of its impact on the human being since I think we could hear, right? And so you hear a lion's roar, most people are going to react in a certain way. And that lion's roar comes to be over however many millions of years. I think about that with like punk rock music. Like as a teenager in the 80s, you listen to punk rock music or any of that stuff. It has a quality that puts you in a frame of mind that's different than if you're listening to Mozart, you're listening to Beethoven. Those things do different things to your autonomic nervous system. So it
The
makes
frequency.
frequency, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and when we talk about a theta brainwave, it probably has some relationship to a sound, wave as well. I would think like all waves have some quality. When you use this tool, I'm just curious about this idea. So you have some group of people that come to you, they're in pain, they want to release themselves from that. And you have another group of people that are looking to ascend to another level of something that they're doing
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in both hearing how they're different and how they're the same. Like what there probably are qualities that are present in both groups and then probably some that are distinct to each. Could you talk a little bit about that?
They're the same in something in the sports arena. As a
Hmm.
quarterback, there's a barrier you cannot get past. Every time it's third down and it's 12 yards, you seem on the out route, you overthrow the guy every single time.
Right, right,
But third and three, third and two, you'll make the dump off pass and you're perfect. But just that 12-yard pass, anything
right,
past 10 yards, you you freeze.
right, right,
So in a way, there's a mental blockage, just like there's a mental blockage in the person who just cannot communicate with their spouse.
right, right,
And they're always into some sort of entanglement where they can't get along, blockages.
right.
Here's a blockage difference: low frequency relationship.
Okay,
Over here, this is a high frequency athlete. He's happy, he's solid,
right,
he comes in, he's the leader of the team, but
right.
he has a blockage that he can't overcome. So there's some similarities and then there's some differences all
Sure.
in the same thing. And
Okay,
that's kind of how how I equate this scenario that you're talking about.
right. And much in the same way, like your voice to me sounds as an instrument would sound. For those of you just listening and not watching us on YouTube, you're a big, strong man too. Like you look like a powerful human being. And I'm curious in the way that your voice is an instrument that you've trained to relax people. Clearly, athletes will recognize strength and power as like something to respect. But I'm thinking non-athletes might react in one of two ways: in a sense of safety, like, oh, this is like a protector type of figure, or feel menace, like this person is stronger than me and therefore like a threat to me. So I'm wondering how that aspect of your physicality, these people that you work with, does it play out, or is that something that I'm imposing on the conversation because I just might think about? Does it matter?
It's something that you're imposing on the conversation
Okay,
because
okay,
when people call a hypnotherapist or they're calling a healer or they're calling
okay,
someone who can help them, they are like, this is the last road. They already have gone through talk therapy
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
with a therapist.
yeah.
It didn't work.
Right,
They've seen this person that didn't work. And when they start to move towards hypnotherapy, and when they start to go to untraditional methods of healing,
right.
they're like, "Can you help me?"
Yeah.
And it's typically they've researched you, they've heard you somewhere, they've gone to your website, they already know
Okay. They have a sense of
the
you.
service, they know that. And then when you
Yeah.
start talking to them over the phone and they're
Right,
trying to get to know, and then at that point, just like you said about the punk music, rock music,
right,
about the singing bowl, something in Jason's voice resonates. The
right.
frequency, I'm comfortable. Uh, when do you have a, can I get on your calendar?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
it's my frequency. It's the way I speak to
Right.
them. But I don't resonate with everybody, Peter.
Sure.
I just don't. And some people that I have on on my podcast, um, and I have all kind of psychic mediums, mindset coaches, all kind of people that do this type of work to come on the show,
Right.
and I share their work with my audience because sometimes people just want to hear me talk about a subject that they're interested in, but it's the other person that resonates with them because there's something about this person's energy, their aura that connects. So I would look at it from that aspect.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I think as an athlete, and I haven't played at the professional level the way that you have, but the way a person carries themselves, like their physical presence, is something I'm aware of as a person. Like I think about it, and I have noticed sometimes super big people, super that don't have like an imposing presence, and then I've noticed, someone slight, diminutive that has a very large presence, and that I'm I'm always curious as to how all these things work together. I want to ask you about like other ways that you've taught the world because I know you're a very well-known author, but this work is not the typical work. Not everybody would even think of this as like a road. And I'm curious, did it occur to you to do this work in a moment or did it happen over time? Like did you incrementally come like this is how I want to spend my time and my energy or was there some great epiphany?
Happened over time. I was assistant vice president of athletics at a university here in Louisiana. I
Mhm.
was a former pro athlete in Canada. I was a collegiate football player. I
Mhm.
was a professional sports agent for 12 years.
Wow.
I moved into private business after that, a construction executive, and then everything morphed. Um, During that time, I was already into the metaphysical stuff on the side with my sister. She was showing me about the law of attraction, about
Okay.
manifestation. I was interested in UFOs. Who isn't?
Sure.
So um, but it started to become a stronger connection with me. And when COVID-19 hit, it became even a stronger connection with
Yeah.
me. And when I was forced to just stop and all of us were shut in,
Mhm.
and my leisure time was reading books for, what was it, a month or two we were shut in.
Yeah, right.
So my leisure time was reading books and reconnecting, and then it just happened, Peter.
Okay.
The connection was so strong that I moved out of those areas, and I started to focus more on reading, meditation, mindfulness, studying the subconscious mind, studying
Right.
consciousness in general, and just getting very, very strong. I can tell you I was receiving downloads because I learned a lot very, very quickly. And in my book, Empowered by Consciousness, I experimented with a number of spiritual modalities
Okay.
and experienced them at a level where I was like, oh wow, yeah, there's more out there than
Yeah.
what we see. But then I was able to just move these understandings of how we can use the powers that God has given us to help people. And that's when I moved off into more of a hypnosis area, and now focusing on much of my energy in sports hypnosis with athletes. I worked with business people before
Right.
as well, and your average everyday person. But since I have an huge athletic background,
Right.
I'm able to really, really hone in on those type of issues that they face, and it's typically anxiety, And
Right.
it's typically they don't have a understanding of positive self-talk, and their goal setting mechanisms are not they're not rooted in what reality is. You have to
Yep.
set goals, Peter, but they cannot be goals that cannot be attained. Well, you're supposed to set your goals high. You need to set goals that are attainable goals,
Right.
that goals that you can quantify, goals that you can set timelines to, and goals that you can measure. And that's what I started to work more towards with all of the things that I had accomplished in my life.
So I'm guessing that, like in these athletes, that these are folks that other people would perceive as high performing in their field. And yet, maybe that athlete's internal dialogue, its kind of self-assessment, is less is unequal to maybe what they're used to hearing. I don't know quite what, when we talk about anxiety and whatnot, often that's a mismatch between what we think we should be and what we are at the moment, and that's a problem. And what's interesting to me about incremental goals is that just because you set an attainable goal doesn't mean you can't set another goal. And so in my mind, like, we're talking about a ladder of achievement, like just what's next, and you never know where you're going to land ultimately. When you have a high performing athlete, and my guess is you probably work with athletes at many different levels and probably includes people whose livelihood is attached to their athletic ability. um, when you talk about anxiety being common, like what other things are common? What might someone who's not a professional athlete relate to, where you'd go, well, you know what, this is present in everybody, even somebody who's, lauded as a professional athlete.
Anxiety. I mean, and all of these guys are high performing and they all have a level anxiety. You know your job well, but there's just one part of your job you just can't quite get it down because
Hmm.
you don't like that part of your job, and that
Right.
creates anxiety for you.
Okay.
Some athletes, they are awesome, but the footwork is just not right at the
Hmm.
time they release the football because they they don't deem it as important enough to train and to get it right. And
Right.
there may be a issue with not being able to totally understand everything you have to do on a particular play.
Hmm.
Okay. Because you don't study. But why don't you study? Because there is some sort of blockage or some sort of notion that you have that
Mm.
you don't
Right.
have to, you never had to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can relate this to the average everyday person who is not able to get this raise on the job because
Hmm.
you have to perform at a high level at work. Well, you just think by showing up and being everybody's friend and not really studying your job that it's going to happen for you. It's the same situation. There's a blockage that doesn't allow you to reach that peak or to reach that level so you can get the raise or the promotion. And
Right.
that's when it comes in with rewiring the mind. That's why you see executives hire mindset coaches,
Right.
business coaches, mindset performance coaches, just for the business person. And only thing they do is help refocus them. Now they use practical techniques like a sports psychology. I mean, like a psychologist would. It's
Right.
more talk therapy. But my entire program is just based on working at the subconscious mind.
Right.
I would use more of manifestations, more of um, I ams. I am proficient every time I study for the Series 6 license. And
Right. Right.
these are
Right.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that I have to focus on. So I'm
Right.
more of a using repetitive repetitive scripts so that we can penetrate the subconscious mind, positive self-talk, using meditation, Peter, to calm the mind,
Right.
practicing meditation over and over every day until you can reach a level of calmness. And Peter, once you can reach this level of peace and calmness, it's almost saying now I can lay all this information on because my anxiety is not here when I'm at this transcendent state of meditation, this relaxed state. So I have a lot of different methods to where, I teach you how to get to the relaxed state. Now let's do the mind reprogramming. Now let's get all the things out. Now let me use hypnosis to rewire your old way of thinking, and let's start to program new thought processes and create new neural pathways.
So does everybody who comes in know, like, let's take the achievers, know where it is that they want to go? Or is part of this an uncovering of like, well, what is it that you really want? Like I
Yeah.
sometimes anxieties to me can be a mismatch between you think you want X, but you actually want Y, but you can't like accept the fact that it's actually Y and you got so much invested in X. So I'm curious if there's a discovery part of this conversation where people may not know themselves the way that they in fact need to know themselves.
And you know what? You sound like an old coach. I know you coach too, but yeah, you're absolutely right. What exactly do you want?
Right.
I'm just not able to focus on my job. I'm just not able to I make mistakes, and typically there's a oil spill of things, that top lining um problem, lack of focus. Now there's an oil spill of things going on. Lack of focus leads to poor money management, bad relationship, um, you know, not having a really good relationship with your kids. There are other things going on in their life.
Hmm.
The top line thing is the only thing they'll give you in the session. So you just continue to listen to them talk,
Yeah.
and they will tell you everything that's going on if you just listen to them and say,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Right.
Anything else? And once you finish hearing them talk, and then you say, well, why did you come to me today? Why do you think hypnosis will help you? And then they'll give me everything I need there. Say, okay, well, we're going to take a 10-minute break, go get some water, go use the bathroom. I'm going to prepare some things. And when you come back, it'll be a wonderful session. You're going to be relaxed. And I'm telling you, Amy, when you leave here today, you're going to feel so empowered. But what did I just do there? I slipped in subliminal messages to the subconscious mind. You're going to be fine. You're going
Right.
to be so relaxed. This is going to be a great session.
Yeah. Right.
And them, it eases the tension, and the subconscious prepares itself to receive the information. So once I found out, like you said, what exactly do you want? Where is the blockage? Okay, now let's bring this to light so that you can identify and see, well, yeah, here's the problem you just said. Here's the problem right here.
Right.
And then once they self-identify, Peter,
Hmm.
you
Yes.
know what? That is the problem. Now let's fix it. We'll fix it. We'll start now creating new positive narratives,
Right.
positive self-talk, introducing all the things that you want to be through a subconscious mind infiltration, using hypnosis, using mindfulness. You may say, people may come on your show and say mindfulness and just keep saying it. Well,
Right.
what is mindfulness?
Right. Right.
Mindfulness is the awareness of everything around you.
Right.
And the more aware you are of this microphone that you're using, Peter, and the headphones and the way it feels, and your arm and the hair, just you're mindful in the way you speak to people, the
Right.
tone of your voice, listening to things around you and how you are closely,
Hmm.
closely now. And the more you practice this every day, the clearer your decision making becomes. The
Yeah.
more aware, you know what I mean?
I do, and there's a lot of things that come to mind. I'm curious. Like I think of one of the most terrifying quotes that I keep like close to me because it requires me to think about my behavior in a way that you're talking about observing your environment, and it's how you'll do anything is how you'll do everything, and that idea creeps into my self-evaluation when I see myself being impatient about something small. I think, well, if you're going to be impatient about this, you're going to be impatient about other things that are more important. So, why don't you practice on this small thing as a way to build the muscle to do the big thing? When I was, I had an unusual reading interest when I was like too young to be reading the stuff I was reading. But I remember this one thing in this sort of Buddhist martial arts text that I was reading as a teenager, and it was like, first make yourself as perfect as you can be, and then when you pick up the sword you will use the sword perfectly. And it was this notion that like training externally without building the internal muscle is a very slow and maybe impossible way uh, to get to where you want to go. So when I listen to you talk, it makes me think of those things because once you have clarity that this is where I want to be, and then that notion of being able to uh, be in the moment and be relaxed there, and that the pleasure of that, as a contrast to like the conflict that most of us are in with the moment all the time. We want it to be different, and in that wanting it to be different, I feel like a lot of the tension um, arises. When you talk about this, do you find that these are changes that occur and then are permanent? Or do you find these are changes that occur and then need to be reinforced with this work uh, over time? Talk therapy is famous for it going on for years and years, but you're operating at the rewiring level. So I'm curious, like, what's the change look like? Does it look like an epiphany, or does it look like something you got to kind of practice?
Yeah, you find out, like you said, what do you want, and then now let's figure out what the problem is. Now let's change everything, rewire everything. Now we've introduced new things,
Right.
and then the back half of that is now let's show you how to sustain this.
Okay.
Let's show
Eh,
you how to sustain this. We've just rewritten a number of different programs
Right.
in the hard drive.
Okay.
And now we've introduced new software in the hard drive. The only person that can erase this software is you.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And then the what reason would you have, Amy, to erase the software? Who knows? And I hope that you want, but now I am going to show you how to maintain this. So here are your daily affirmations. You write down things that you want to accomplish, and you write them 3 times, and you say them 3 times each every day in the morning, 3 times each every day in the evening, and 3 times each every day at night. Amy, I want you to meditate at least 1 time a day. It could be 7 minutes, it could be 10 minutes with no one around.
Hmm.
No one around. Just 10 minutes out of your busy day just to spend time with yourself.
Right.
And then, Amy, the third thing I want you to do is keep a journal.
Hmm.
Every time you write in your journal, write about the wonderful things that's happened in your life. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a high vibration situation for Amy, a high frequency. When you operate at a higher frequency and a high vibration on a daily basis, you tend to be more happy. You
Yeah.
tend to be more successful. Now, there are things outside of what I said that I would give Amy to do to reinforce everything that we've done in the first 2 months to undo and to now reprogram and to now sustain.
Yeah.
Now, will a person do that? You know how it is. you know, a number of them won't. They'll
Right.
do it
Right.
for a while and they'll feel great and then they'll go right back. But
Sure.
the people who really, really are like, I'm so happy I found someone who could teach me how to do this. They stay with it and they feel
Yeah.
great. They have great lives, great careers, and
Right.
they expand on what they've learned.
There's a professor in jujitsu. You call the teacher the professor, and so there's a professor named Jason Hawkins wrote this great book called "Light on the Gentle Art." And jujitsu is known as the gentle art, and he talks about the notion of being imperturbable, and having
Yeah.
equanimity, and it strikes me in this conversation because if you can, as we talk about, operate at that higher frequency, the things that trouble you would change, I presume. Things that might seem very important at that lower frequency might not seem so important at the higher frequency. And when something comes along that's a straight up, a moment to be suffered. You lose somebody, it's appropriate to be sad. Something goes wrong. I don't think it's a inappropriate reaction to be sad, to be hurt, to be, but what happens, how does that get incorporated into your psychology, into your life? All those things I think are different when you're operating at, for me, this is also about maturity. Like, we should be aspiring as we go along, not to be the same. If you're the same at 50 that you were at 20, you've missed 30 years of growth. There's going to be people out there that are fascinated by this and want to get more of it, but may not know or be able to work with you. Can you talk about some of the books that you've written? Because I know there's a way for people to learn about what we're talking about here, beyond just this short conversation.
Yeah, Empowered by Consciousness. I wrote that book, and I was experimenting and doing research, solid
Hmm.
research on a number of different spiritual modalities: the subconscious mind, the higher
Right.
self, hypnosis, meditation, and manifestation. And this is
Hmm.
sort of what we're talking about on the last half of this conversation when it comes to how to sustain this. How
Yeah.
do we change reprogram our minds in addition to hypnosis? Manifesting the water alchemy technique, 333-555-777 technique, the famous 369 technique from Tesla, his manifestation that he used. So I talk about that in the book, Empowered by Consciousness, and it was a
Hmm.
best-selling book on Amazon when it came out. And you can get that. You can go to my site, www.jasonmedlock.com, and it's there. And from that book, in the same concepts, but taking over mindfulness and moving over meditation and the concepts of hypnosis, and
Hmm.
then moving it into the sports world. I wrote the mental game plan. It's a
Okay.
comprehensive guide for coaches and athletes of mental training, and it helps coaches understand, how to reach the athlete, how to
Hmm.
teach the athlete how to visualize exactly what they want them to do, how to foster a better team environment and team setting
Yeah.
for the players. And then for the players themselves, how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with injury. Most guys, Kevin, when they get hurt, they go in the tank. They feel like they're ostracized from the team, and
Sure.
they develop a level of frustration, depression, anxiety. So that book is wrapped and steeped with a lot of information about that.
Yeah.
And I have two books for the formerly incarcerated and the current incarcerated.
Okay.
And these two ebooks focus on people who are getting out of prison.
Right.
And God knows that just being in prison for a period of time, your mindset is shot. You can come out and to the
Right.
world, okay, I'm fine. I did my time and I'm just want to start over. But there's
Right.
some
Right.
deep-seated things that are going on with you. So I give practical strategies on how to release yourself from fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fear is big, Kevin. Fear is huge. We just don't have enough time to talk about everything, but fear is huge. So
Right.
those are the books, and I have mindset coaching programs, and my signature, two signature things that I use is quantum healing hypnosis. And I use a number of mindset coaching techniques mixed in with meditation because I'm a transcendental meditator,
Yeah.
TM.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's Mhm.
And just for the audience, there's not a third person in the conversation. There's not a Kevin. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah.
Peter.
And I
I,
was
they were like, I
just
thought his name was Peter.
so the yeah. And by the way, it's ironic that you mentioned transcendental meditation. I was at the Maharishi Institute, or excuse me, yeah, the Maharishi Institute University, MIU, which is in Fairfield, Iowa. You probably know, and they're actually about to have their big conference there. I was just there about a month ago.
Are you a
Um,
TMer?
I, I'm familiar with it, and I had other business there. I was there not as a meditator, but I am very interested in all the different meditation modalities. So TM, I'm probably more inclined towards what might be called loving kindness meditation, some of the Buddhist methodologies. But I think when you talk for me, these things are all related. You know, being an athlete, being an artist, being a business person, being a parent, I mean, they all carry a discipline that is required, and you can all do them at different levels. And some things, like my mom is actually one of our country's great poets. She was a professor for 30 years and is, an acclaimed poet. And as successful as she is as a poet, it is a discipline largely unto itself. There's no Hollywood, uh, equivalent to the poetry world. It's something she does in isolation to a certain extent, even though her books have been, widely read. So when I say that just because I think the things that you have to teach in the athletic world have a role in people's lives outside of just athletics. If somebody wanted to work with you and experience what you have to offer directly, do you only see people in person? Do you have a way to work with someone who might not be local to you?
Yeah, 80%, 90% of my work is online.
Okay.
Locally, I'll get I'm eating too much, or
Hmm.
I'll get some of those things, cigarette smoking.
Sure.
Uh, but no, a lot of the clients I get are they come from my podcast. They come from haven't seen the book on Facebook or some sort of
Yeah.
advertisement, Instagram, social media. But no, I work with people on social media. I do a number of online sessions. We all have a digital imprint, and just like energy healing, and we didn't even get into that. I'm an energy healer as well. But
Okay.
just like energy healing, we can heal through this online blueprint of you, or we can heal through a picture or a photo or anything like that. But since hypnosis is not physical therapy,
Hmm.
hypnosis is it is not touch. It is talking.
Right. Right.
So we're able to do these sessions online, very effective. And I have some online classes as well. I have a
Okay.
7-day mindset boot camp, a live boot camp that I did that is online as well. I have 3-month coaching programs that are absolutely amazing.
Okay.
And you know what? People will sign up, and I'll start coaching one on one or a group, and they'll just disappear sometimes. And they paid me, very well,
Sure.
and they just stop.
Yeah.
And I think people are fascinated with it until they start to uncover
Yeah.
things about
Yeah.
themselves,
Sure. Yeah.
you know. But
Well, yeah, the notion of meditation, calming things, relaxing things, doesn't mean that when you calm things or relax things, you're going to necessarily like what you see. I mean,
right,
there's you know, honesty and clarity sometimes forces you to understand where you may be off track, and sometimes less attractively off track than you even want to admit to yourself. Well, listen, I'm glad that there's ways to work with you that you can reach anyone in the world, and I'm glad you have these books
yes,
because somebody can begin the journey of understanding what you're saying in the privacy of their own mind and kind of make their decisions like, yes, this resonates with me. No, it doesn't. And it gives somebody, no matter where they are, if you're hearing this, you can go find Jason Medlock and in some way, shape, or form be touched by him, by his books, by his classes, by working directly. So listen, thank you for spending time with me. I'm really grateful that I got a chance to learn about you and learn about what you're doing.
Peter, I'm excited, and I'm thankful you invited me on the revolt. And there is no Kevin here, guys. It's only Peter and I.
Okay.
I was thinking about someone else, but
That's not a
Peter,
problem. That's not a
yeah.
problem.
But thank you,
Yeah,
brother. It was nice, and we had a good conversation. And
I agree.
we just have to do it again sometime. And maybe I'll have you on the
Yeah,
expansion of consciousness, and we can talk about some things
I
and
would
get
love that. Yeah,
yeah,
anytime. And you can come back
awesome.
whenever you want. So listen, thanks for listening to us today, the modern revolution. I hope that you're inspired. I hope that you're moved to take some actions to figure out what you want in life and to do what you want in life, to become who you want to be in life. And perhaps this moves you closer to bringing your ideas to the world because the modern revolution needs us all.